Welcome to Tim's Workshop. This is part 3 of the to-do list on the Starcraft. The next step, we'll turn the camera around and show you what we're going to do. I started this up yesterday, just off the tank, and it worked fine. It worked great. I am going to hook up the this auxiliary hose, though, to the main tank just to make sure it is going to work, especially with this valve. I know this valve is meant for a auxiliary tank, but I'm not sure how this is going to work on the main tank here, so we're going to try it out just to make sure it's going to work. There's no surprises. If not, I'm going to have to take that valve off and just run it straight. Get that up there so it's not on the ground. So I'm going to drain the tank, the barrel, and I'm going to put it over here for the main motor, get water in it, and then we're going to test out how long it takes to start this thing and get it running compared to the way it was on the test. It took me almost, I think, between 6 and 10 tries to get it running and staying running, so that's a little too much. Okay, this is the hose, the main hose going to the 60 horse Merc. This is my auxiliary hose with the vent valve. They put on auxiliary tanks, you know, because they don't have a pressure relief on the auxiliary tanks. So this is your pressure relief valve. What I'd like to do, instead of disconnecting this and, you know, clamping it off with padded pliers so it doesn't, a bunch of gas doesn't leak out, you know, it's going to go into the lake that you're fishing in, and you don't want that. And then hooking up this hose to it and then pumping it up, you know. I'm sure I can get like a Y fitting that I can put both of them together, hook it up to the main tank, so I don't have to keep switching it back and forth. I can have both hoses, both motors hooked up. If something goes wrong with the main motor, I got my kicker motor, or, you know, just for trolling, you don't use the main motor anyway, you use the kicker. So I think that would be a better way of going. I just gotta go see if I can find I think I'll get a brass Y fitting is what I'll use instead of plastic. It'll be a little stronger in case something hits it, you know, you don't want it breaking. And then we'll do that. I think that would be a good deal for that. I got a T fitting. I was going to try to get a brass 3/8 nipple hose Y fitting, but I ended up getting a T fitting because they didn't have Y. So I just went up to the local hardware store up the street. So it was quicker, and I believe this is going to work fine. But this is not going to work. I tried it, squeezed it to the kicker motor, and with this valve on here, it doesn't work. And the reason why is because the gas tank has a vent on it. It has a vent hose next to the main fill hose, and it's vented, so you don't really need another vent. And what it does is it has too much air in the system, and the ball will not get hard by doing that. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut that off and take this off, get another hose clamp, and go right directly from here to the barb, and that should work. All right, let's fire up the 60 horse motor, see how many times it takes to start it. Hopefully not that many. So I pumped the ball, so it's pumped up. And when you turn the key on, you push the key in, that kicks on the enrichment, the fuel enrichment valve, okay? So let's do that. I kicked it in. All right, let's turn it on. Choke it again. Well, there's two. 3. 4. 5. 'So there's 7. And it's running. And it died. Let's try it again. Let's try to hit the throttle up. Nope, not yet. I lost count. It's about 13.5, I would say, volts showing there. All the lights are lit up, so that's good. And I don't know if you can see it here, the fuel gauge. It's on full, but it's just off of full. And the RPM gauge is still screwed up. So we're going to have to take this apart. Now let's check the Hummingbird. It still takes way too long to start the engine, so there's something going on there. I mean, once you get it running, it runs great. I also have my other Hummingbird. This is an old black and white one. The reason I have this is because the depth on this is a lot more accurate for some reason. I found out if I put it on the narrow beam on this instead of the wide beam, it's more reliable on the depth. Wide beam is good for shallow if you're not that deep. But if you're like 500 to 600 feet deep, go to the narrow beam. And this one here is a wide beam. It's really hard to see, but right now we're on the wide view, right? Which is good for like picking up fish, you know, from 0 to 100 feet. Well, let's put it in forward gear. It's peeing good. It's going good. So the fuel gauge is good, the volt gauge is good, it's charging right now pretty good. The RPM gauge, I need to fix it. And I think the way to fix it, I've done it before, right now it's pegged out. The last time it was pegged out like that, all I did is take this apart, take this out, clean the contacts, and put it back together. This time though, when I clean the contacts, I'm going to use that silicone grease on the contacts, and I think that'll keep this one in good shape. This is a speedometer. I don't use a speedometer. I use the GPS speedometer. Alrighty. So we can check off the fuel gauge, the voltmeter. I didn't have that listed because it was working before. The RPM, I'm going to have to fix that. The low voltage signal that I was getting on the fish finder, It's not there anymore. So what that was from is, I think, the connections back there that I had to clean. Also, I charged the battery up full charge, so one of the two fixed the issue. So it's working good now. Alrighty. So what else? The nav lights, the courtesy light right here. A courtesy light. Let's see. Oh, it works now. It wasn't working earlier, and that could have been because of the grounds as well. So if you clean your grounds, that helps. Because those ground wires back there, who knows what those ground wires went to? It could have went to everything on the boat as far as that goes. There's an issue with the bilge pump. It keeps kicking the breaker. So, got to figure that one out. It could be just a connection on this, you know, on the switch itself. But it could be like a bare wire back there. So I might have to show you here. Let me turn this around. So this cover area here, you take that off. I made it so I drilled out the pop rivets, whatever you call them. I drilled those out and I put self-tapping screws in it. So all this area comes off pretty easy now. So I can get that off. I can get into where the fuel tank is. I can get in where the bilge pump and the live well pump. I can get in there real easy, and I can get into those wires back there, and they really need to be organized anyway. They're just kind of spaghetti city. I guess between now and when I go fishing next week, that's got to get fixed right away. So we'll work on that. First off, I'm going to check the toggle switch up here and see if that's the issue first. But I have a feeling there's a wire in there that's grounding out, or something's going on. So we'll fix it. Okay, so the bilge pump switch, I took the wires apart, greased it up good. It still kicks off, right? So I'm going, well, what's going on there? So I went back here, opened up the cover, and down inside here I was able to pull this out. Okay, this just, when you put it down into the spot it goes, it's just a quarter turn, and here's your pump right here. It just pumps the water out. It spins this, right? I can turn this on, it spins, but then it pops the circuit breaker, and it keeps doing it. So I'm going, well, there's a grounding issue somewhere. So I started checking all the wires out, and I got underneath here. Let me get down here so you can see what I found. It's kind of tight in here. All right, see that? Somebody shoved all the grounds into a connector and squeezed it, and all they did is put electrical tape around it. Look how corroded this stuff is. So that's got to be it. Get it all fixed up. I'm sure that's what it is. But we'll test it out after we get this fixed and see if that was it or not. All right, so I cut the pump lines off. I think it's a pump. So I fixed the grounds in there. They were corroded. Got that fixed. So we'll test this out, see where we're at. Hopefully you can see this. So the brown wire is the the hot wire. Okay. And the black wire is the ground. So we got 9, 10, so we got about 10 volts, almost 11 volts coming through here. And it doesn't kick the circuit breaker when I do that. So my guess is it's the pump. And if you look down inside here, the bottom of that plastic looks pretty warped, like it got overheated. See how there's a dip right there? This thing got hot. So that's what's going on. This is shorting out, so I'm gonna have to get another one. Now that's what I found. It's $54, which includes the float switch as well. It's Rule bilge pump 360 GPH, gallons per minute, or per hour, I guess, gallons per hour. Yeah, so that'll work. $54 plus $8 shipping. Okay, let's continue on with this this project, fix the Starcraft. So we just on the last part of this video, we discovered that the bilge pump is no good. So I got one on order. It's going to be here around the 1st of September. So I'm going to put all this back together now that I know that everything here is fine. The RPM, I took it apart and cleaned the contacts. So once I start the motor here, we'll check the RPM and see if it's working properly now. I'll put all this back together after we're done here. So for now, what we're going to do is, I showed you on the earlier on the video about pumping the ball the correct way, and I think hopefully instead of 9 tries to get the motor started, hopefully it'll be less. Okay, so let's try it. I added more water into the barrel. It tends to when it's peeing, it pees outside the barrel, so you lose water that way. But it's also got a slow leak too after. It's been a few days since I've had this running, so this is a good opportunity to see if this works. So we got the arrow pointing up, and we're gonna get the carbs, and it's hard now. The ball's hard. All right, let's try it. See how many tries it takes. Get the camera out of the sun. It's kind of bright right now. All right, so let's turn the kill switch on here. Got the dog barking behind us. Let's enrich it once and try to start it. Started right up. How about that, huh? And I don't know if you could see it, but the RPM gauge is still not working. So I got a wiring issue with it, and it could be back there on the motor. So, and I can't remember which wire is the RPM one. I think it's purple. Oh, look at that. It just did it on its own. Weird. Look at that. So in neutral, it's about 920, 910 RPM, which is higher. Well, actually, no, that's about right. Let's see how it's bouncing. So something still not right with the wiring on this thing, but it's working now. So in forward gear, it should drop down around 700. So let's put it in the forward gear. See if this gauge will continue working for us. So the RPM should have dropped down. So this thing is not working worth a darn. It actually, the needle went higher when I put it into gear. It should go lower. Well, I put it in neutral and it died. Not sure why. This thing needs to be replaced. Oh, sorry about that. This thing's horrible. I need a new one. You're supposed to have it hooked up to this switch here. And then for whatever reason you go like this, it's supposed to like turn this thing off like that. I don't know if you could see that, but that's a kill switch. So I think it goes like this, and you put it up like that. Let's see if it'll start. And if you see that? That's how that works. But this thing is so shot, I'll have to get a new one. Anyway, so the RPM gauge still has issues. That's for sure. But we figured out how to get this thing started on one try. So I think, let me get you over there and I'll explain what I think is going on with that. So if you're squeezing it like this, you're squeezing and squeezing and it doesn't get hard, all you're doing is the fuel is going up in the hose and coming back down into the tank, and you've got air in between, okay? And you have air into the carbs, right? So if you want all three carbs on this full of fuel under pressure, then squeeze the ball in the up position so the check valve will shut off when this hose and the carbs are full of fuel. And then you're good to go. And then start your motor and you're good. So make sure you have the ball pointing up and the arrow going to the motor, and squeeze the ball until it gets hard, and then you're good to go. This, by the way, is the float switch. And by the way, that's where that red wire goes to the battery that I didn't know what it was for. It connects to this. The other part of this hooks to the ground, which hooks to the same ground that goes to the bilge pump. So that's how it ties together, and apparently that's how it works. But I didn't order a new one of these, okay? I can't take it apart to fix it, I don't believe. Yeah, so I don't know. I'll play with it and see if I can get it to work. But they're only like 15 bucks. And the motor that I have coming, the bilge pump, it's like $27. So we'll get that, put that in, and hopefully that'll solve the bilge pump problem. Before I go fishing, I can't really take it out until I get that fixed. So that's next on the list.